Welcome back to the home front. I'm your host, Galen. Today, I'm coming to you solo. And guys, I was going to do an episode about everybody needing to take a look at the world and step out from in front of the fire hose and really focus on what's most important to you and the things that you can do in your community. And I will get to that series of thoughts sooner than later. But, today, it's almost like I should have called it Festivus. I have an airing of grievances, I guess, not at you all certainly, but sometimes at the world. And it's been a long weekend, everybody. And we saw on Friday 4 people in Minnesota, 2 of them members of the Minnesota legislature and their spouses, were shot by a gentleman who clearly deranged, had a hit list in his car, and 2 of them died. One of the couples died. The woman who was a member of the legislature and her husband. And I started thinking about that in the context of Father's Day. And this is the first Father's Day I'm celebrating without my own father. And that got me wistful and thoughtful and sad. And I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. You expect someone is going to be there. You know that there's going to be loss in our futures. But when it happens, I think people are rarely ever prepared for it, even if they say they are. And so I'm sitting here and I'm spending some time with my dogs and doing some work in the yard and watching some golf and a big finish from JJ Spawn out at Oakmont in Pittsburgh. A great round for him and always an exciting tournament, which was helpful to sort of take my mind off things. But then, guys, I made a mistake. Let me say this, I made a big mistake. I looked at Twitter. Don't look at Twitter for any variety of reasons, and there's innumerable reasons why you shouldn't. But I saw on Twitter something that Senator Mike Lee from Utah, one of my senators, posted. He posted a picture of the gentleman who committed the shootings in Minnesota in this latex mask that he'd put on to hide his identity. And Lee tweeted, "This is what happens when Marxists don't get their way." Now, if you've heard me for any amount of time, you know that I hold Mike Lee beneath contempt. I find him to be as loathsome a creature in American politics, or that American politics has produced, certainly in my career. He is someone who does and states this clearly, does not believe in the idea of democracy. He actively tried to help Donald Trump stay in office after the 2020 election. And now he has decided to take on this quote unquote based ideology, which is like he'll say whatever he wants, and the transgression and then the ugliness and the trolling. There's nothing more important than owning the libs. And clearly that's the case because he certainly hasn't done anything as a legislator to demonstrate that he has any value, near as I can tell. And this really angered me. And I think it should, for a couple of reasons. And I want to go back. I want to bring a couple of things together here. First is the couple that were killed by this man in Minnesota. They have 2 children. Those 2 children are now orphans, and they're not celebrating Father's Day today. And when they look forward to the 4th of July, the first day of school, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Mother's Day, Father's Day, their birthdays, nothing will ever be the same for those kids. Nothing will ever be the same for those kids. And I know people, and I'm sure you know people, and some of you listening to this might have lost a parent or perhaps lost a child. And I know that is a shattering experience, a hollowing out experience that one never recovers from. You go on about your day, but for those kids, the life they knew ended on Friday night. And the idea that I am mourning the first Father's Day without my own dad after he passed away last summer from a very long illness, and then you put it in retrospect that these 2 little kids are now in shock beyond compare because of something that a crazed person did for an agenda that we still do not fully understand, for reasons that we still do not fully understand. And rather than taking the position like any otherwise normal human being would, Mike Lee chooses to make a joke about it. And that's the kind of person he is. I can't imagine what his wife and his kids must think of him. And I feel bad for them. I feel bad that they have to live with him. I pity them. I do, and I don't like pity. I guess I try and have empathy for them because I don't want to be that heartless. But this is a gentleman who deserves nothing. He is a rotten, rotten individual. And to think about it in the context of those kids and the grief that has destroyed the world they knew and the world they will know for time to come is something that angered me so much, guys. I ran right up to that line, the H word, which is hate. And I don't like the word hate, and I don't like the emotion because I think it is fundamentally dangerous and destructive. I think it is a word, it is a feeling, it is an emotion that leads only to bad things. Because when you cross into that lane, when you cross that line into hate, the things that you might be willing to do that you might not otherwise have starts to expand, and not in a good way. Not in a good way. And I think about that it's also an extremely heavy emotion to carry around with you. It's really easy to be resentful. It's really easy to be angry. Those things come fast and they burn hot. And the feeling can be intoxicating if you let it. And we're seeing that with whether or not it was this man in Minnesota or with so many other people that we have seen in stark relief of the past few years, or frankly, throughout, not only our country's history, but world history. And I walked right up to that line and I thought, what Mike Lee said was hateful. It was ugly. It was depraved. That doesn't mean I have to match his ugliness with my own. And I don't think we should either. The path out of this will not be easy and it will not be fast, as you've heard me say too many times. But it's not going to come hauling hate around with us either. And frankly, I don't want to give the likes of a Mike Lee the satisfaction of knowing that I hate him. He's beneath caring about. There's that scene in Mad Men where the one young guy says to Don Draper, "I feel sorry for you." And Don Draper looks at him and goes, "I don't think about you at all." And normally I wouldn't think about Mike Lee. In fact, I was on a plane with him, just to give you a sense of how I don't even know the word, this guy is. He was all, backslaps and smiles with all these people going on a Delta jet from Washington, D.C. back to Salt Lake a few Thursdays ago. He thinks it's all a joke. He thinks this is a big game, and that when he gets to fly home, and he gets to be called United States Senator, that everything is going to just work out for him. And frankly, guys, so far it has. But that doesn't mean that we have to accept that the way he acts and the way he believes is, one, okay, but two, we don't have to let it affect how we act either. We don't have to say, he's hateful, so I'll be hateful too. Right? Just because he's decided to light the fires of ugliness doesn't mean we need to help by throwing gasoline on it. And I think back to, what it means when we think about loss and when we think about those we love, and we think about Minnesota. And it's too bad, but it's not unusual. It's not outside of human nature that those kinds of things, when you think about that poor family, those poor kids, reminds you to hug your own kids a little bit closer, right? They make us crazy, right? What do they say? The years are short, but the days are long. And if you have kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But you got to hug them one way or the other, right? Because they are pieces of us. And those two kids are now living with their hearts broken, with their hearts outside their bodies, as they try and now figure out where to go from here. And I'm a little bit all over the place, guys, because I didn't expect that it was going to hit me as hard as it did in the context of the senselessness of it and the boorishness that we've seen from too many in response to it. As if this had happened to a Mike Lee, he wouldn't be expecting all of the sympathy and all of the outpouring of grief on his behalf. He would. And it would probably come from his friends and supporters as well. I guess it should. But is that the person you want to be? Is that the person you want to emulate? Is that the person we have to say, well, if that's how they win, that's how we'll act? Now, I'm not saying, as you all know, that we should pull any punches. And I'm not saying that when we throw those punches, they shouldn't be as hard as they can. And then when we launch those attacks, they're not as sharp as they can be. And when we stand up for things we believe in, we do not do it with anything other than a head held high, an open heart, and a stiffened back. But we don't have to be that, guys, right? We don't have to be that. We shouldn't be that. I think that it's a good reminder of what we're up against. He's the worst of the worst. He is. He is a terrible human being. And everybody should remind him of that. And I hope that when he goes back to the United States Capitol on Tuesday to go back to work, I think that's when they go back to work, I hope his colleagues look at him and go, what the hell were you thinking? What were you thinking? What were you doing? And I hope Republicans and Democrats alike do that because he deserves it. He deserves every bit of approbation and scorn that can be heaped upon him. But he shouldn't allow us to be hateful about it. And, guys, these are the times when you say, well, the world's awful big and there's so much going on. And, I'm upset about this and I'm upset about that. And I was too. And I got caught up in it. And I was hot. But it didn't make me angry for long. It just redoubled my commitment to the idea that what we are here for and what we're fighting for is important. Because when things like shooting elected officials becomes normal, when joking about their deaths becomes normal, then we're stripping off a layer of our humanity. And guys, we've already stripped a whole bunch of layers off. And we can't afford that, right? And so we have to redouble our efforts and redouble our commitment, do the work. And I was going to write something on Substack and I didn't get to it because I was thinking a lot about this, and I'll get to it eventually. But guys, the work that you can do that's most important is taking care of your own family and your friends and those around you. And next are the people in your community. Guys, there's a lot of people who need help, and they need help of every kind. It's not just, do you know how to register to vote? And it's not, do you know how to cast a ballot? Those things will come. No, I'm talking about folks who are short of food. They're short of the basic necessities of life. It's a team looking for a coach or a library looking for an extra volunteer. I need you guys to do those things because that is going to be the thread that stitches this country back together. Those little acts, those daily acts of kindness and of civil participation, not civic participation, but civil participation, are the things that are going to start to show us what the next iteration of America is going to look like. And the people that need your help, you might not know. They might not know how to ask for it, but they're out there. And until and unless we commit to taking care of everyone who needs it, in a time when it's going to be harder, when folks are going to have a harder time of it, not an easier time of it, because of what we're seeing back in Washington, that you can do one small thing. It could take an hour of your time. It could take a little bit of money. It could take an extra bag at the grocery store. And what you are doing might not seem like a big deal, but to someone else, it might mean the world. And that's what I'm asking, is that when we see tragedies like these two little kids, and we see ugliness like out of a guy like Mike Lee, we turn not towards the fires that feel good and warm us with anger, but we turn away from that and we say, what can I do today to be better as a person, to be better as a member of a family, to be better as a member of a community? And I think if we can do that, guys, it's not going to be fast. It's not going to be easy, but we will get on the path back. And I just want to say thank you, because talking to you has made me feel better. So let me thank you for that. And let me thank you for all of the work that you have done out there and all the people who listen and all the people who share the show. Just a couple of programming notes. One, I will have Tara Palmieri of The Red Letter on Substack Live tomorrow. That's Monday, June 16th at 1 p.m. Eastern. I hope you'll join us for that. Please go to my Substack, The Homefront, and sign up there. You can follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and says.us at Reed Galen on Threads, and Instagram at Reed_Galen USA. Guys, keep up the fight. Go to jointheunion.us. Get involved with us. I'm going to be in New Jersey this coming week. I'm going to be in Virginia the week after that. I'll make sure to post all of the places we're going to be. Guys, we at the Union are out in the communities talking to people. I could not be more proud of the team we have there and the leaders that we are developing and recruiting and the volunteers doing the work that needs to get done. Until then, everybody, have a good night, and I'll see you next time.